Thanks, Martin. I didn't think 3 years ago I'd be standing up here as one of the long-standing old guys among this group, but I'm the one with the experience. 3 years of it. I see Norm's out there somewhere, so I've still got a wee way to go. Ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to talk today about the status of our international marketing. Where are we at? How's international tourism performing for New Zealand? And give you a sense for some of the priorities we're focusing on going forward. So I won't take too much of your time, and I'll certainly be available for questions. So where are we at the moment? I mean, the guts of our story is we've had some really good positives. We've had the Rugby World Cup, which we know drove a lot of incremental visitors to New Zealand. But more importantly than that, it also brought a whole lot of international media into New Zealand, and it grew our reputation in many, many markets through their experiences that they reported on while they were here and after they returned. We've had the first premiere of the 3 movies that Peter Jackson's made around The Hobbit in Wellington last December, and we're starting to see the effect of our association between Middle-earth and New Zealand, which we've helped build, Air New Zealand's helped build, and many marketing partners have contributed to. We put quite a lot more emphasis on business events, and we're seeing growth in terms of our arrivals and our interest in New Zealand as a place to come for conferences. And of course, we're close to, hopefully, announcements around major convention centres in Christchurch, Queenstown, and of course in Auckland. And we've benefited from the experience of great growth from China. We're seeing the rise of the middle class, and like most markets around the world, we're benefiting greatly from China. But not only in terms of numbers, but also in terms of the quality of the visitors we're attracting from China. So 12 months ago, about 20% of the visitors were just coming to New Zealand, and we've got that up to nearly 30% if you include the more long-staying visitors. So that's a good quality indicator as well. It's worth saying 3 years ago when I first joined the industry, in a lot of parts of New Zealand, if I talked about China, a lot of people switched off. Nowadays, if you say you're going to talk about China, a lot of people are switching on, and I think that's a great thing and something that the industry really needs to embrace. But against that, we've had some pretty tough financial challenges around the world. The economies in Europe remain pretty challenging. We've had earthquakes in New Zealand, and we've had, of course, a devastating earthquake and tsunami in Japan. And through that period, we've also had a relatively high New Zealand dollar. So we've had a relatively balanced range of good things and challenges to work with. That's resulted in arrivals being reasonably flat over the 3 years. Stay days, in terms of the aggregate number of visitor days, down a little bit, and visitor spend relatively down because of the strong currency. So overall, we've still got a lot of challenges in front of us. I know this chart's got a lot of numbers on it, but I did want to emphasise the shift that we're starting to see in the market. So if you look at the overall total, we're just about flat. If you add that up, it hasn't got a total on it, but it's just minus 0.5 at the end of February. In a couple of hours' time, we'll have the March numbers, and we're expecting the March numbers to be pretty good. If you look to the far right-hand side of this slide, what it does is it shows the provisional numbers for March, and you've got some of the normal suspects doing well, like China, but you're also seeing Australia up strongly. Some of that's going to be to do with school holidays falling in March, not in April, but some of it's underlying. There's an underlying strength in these markets. The US up 30 is quite a staggering result. I'm not sure what the final one will be, but if it's up double digits, we'll be very, very pleased. The UK even up, and a little bit of that will be helped by cricket with the touring English cricket team in March. But again, underlying strength in that market, and Germany up 14%, also very good. And of course, last but not least, Japan performing very well. So after a couple of extremely tough years in Japan, we're starting to see the growth coming back from that market, and it's returning to those sort of pre-disaster type levels now, which is incredibly reassuring. So we're looking forward to talking about those results when we have them about 11 o'clock this morning. Forecasts, there's a range of forecasts around, but what we're seeing, generally speaking, these are produced for TIA by COVEC, and they're generally predicting an improvement in tourism arrivals over the next 5 years. So overall, our view is that there is a growth opportunity for us, and we're seeing growth in holiday as well as in total arrivals being something that we should be aiming for. In terms of our next plan, we're going to be releasing the details of that in June, but I just wanted to give you a flavour of where Tourism New Zealand's focus will be. One of the changes is a portfolio of markets is something that we've been focused on for the last 3 years, but with the additional funding that we've been allocated this week, what we'll be able to do is we'll be able to strengthen our investment in some future markets that are presently not delivering huge numbers of visitor arrivals or huge value, but we see great opportunities from, particularly focused on India, Indonesia and South America. So that will balance the portfolio from a core set of markets that are delivering today and also with a group of markets that we see future excellent potential from. We'll be working in both the conversion space with partners, so helping convert interest in a trip to New Zealand, and also in the preference space where we have some preference and awareness for New Zealand but not a commitment to travel. So looking to increase that commitment, particularly in those new markets where New Zealand's reputation is not quite as well known. We'll have a much stronger focus on high value, high yielding visitors right across all of our plans. And that's to counter the high dollar and the opportunity, we think, to match up high yielding visitors with some of the high yield products that we have in New Zealand. Partnerships have been a key part of our program for the last 3 years. At the moment, we work with about another $20 million worth of partnership funding coming from local government and operators in New Zealand, international airlines like Air New Zealand, but also foreign-owned airlines and airports. So about 20 to 23 million is around about the range that we're doing co-marketing work with at the moment. Internally, well, obviously we've now got some new challenges with about a 40% increase in marketing spend. What that gives us is a need to really get our systems and processes in place and probably grow our team a little bit to be able to deliver efficiently and effectively against those new requirements from the government. So that'll give you a bit of a sense of what our priorities are going to be. So in terms of those core markets, what the new funding allows us to do is it allows us to invest in some new areas without compromising the traditional markets. So our core priority markets still remain the US, China and Australia, and they're markets where we see immediate opportunities. China, for us, it's less about the number of arrivals, it's more about the quality and the aggregate number of days stayed and the spend by focusing on the right type of visitors from China. Priority 2 markets, the UK, Germany and Japan. And then priority 3 markets, Southeast Asia, remainder of Europe, France, Korea and Canada. And then those priority emerging markets, India, Indonesia and Latin America. So the new funding, excuse me, I got through yesterday and just about kept my voice. Initiatives, essentially what this is about is supporting the government's drive for an internationally focused strategy which increases our competitiveness globally. And it's part of contributing to the growing exports to 40% of our GDP. So the priority areas for funding are those emerging markets I've talked about, the international business events sector. With new conference facilities being planned in New Zealand, we need to raise our profile as a place to host meetings and for small to medium-sized conferences, and obviously invest in incentive travel. We're going to have a much stronger focus on the premium travel sector, so that those visitors who are staying in premium accommodation, using premium transport services, and obviously travelling in premium segments of the aircraft. And then we've been given the opportunity to really focus on some of our core markets where we've seen opportunities. So one of the things I'm really excited about is we'll be able to return a lot of the investment that we've taken out of Japan. So Japan's marketing commitment will be more like pre-earthquake levels. We'll be adding quite a lot more money into that market. We'll be able to capitalise on the premieres for The Hobbit in Los Angeles this year and in London next year. By adding an extra money in to create some big activations around those premieres, further cementing the connection between Middle-earth and New Zealand. We'll also be able to drive our focus on special interest areas and special interest travel. We know from our studies that people who come to New Zealand to pursue a special interest tend to stay longer and spend more than those that are just regular visitors. So that's an area of interest. So that'll be things like golf, guided walking, cycling, taking advantage of the new cycleways as they take shape. So there's a range of different initiatives across number 4, lifting yield and performance from core markets. And then and essentially joining all that together and encouraging the aviation connectivity between New Zealand and other parts of the world, particularly some of those emerging markets. So that's the story of our current plan. We'll be releasing more details about that in June, but I wanted to give you a sense of where we're at with overall business. Our sense is that we've got a strong performance we'll see later on in the day from March, and our view looking into the remainder of this calendar year is pretty optimistic, more so than it's been since the GFC really affected us. So thank you. I'll take questions at the end. Thanks.